Hey, before we get into this video, please note that we'll spoil the entirety of the main story of Xenoblade 3 and its DLC Future Redeemed. So, if you don't want to be spoiled, please consider throwing this into your Watch Later folder so you can come back when you're ready. Alright, let's get into the video. Nopon. Nopon have always been a bit of an odd sort within the Xenoblade universe. They don't really have any real-life comparisons like many of the creatures in the games do, and often just wander around from territory to territory looking for trade or for work. But funnily enough, they've become some of the most important characters in Xenoblade's history. I mean, take a look at Riku and Hora. They've become irreplaceable in their respective games' parties. But when Xenoblade 3 came out, Riku didn't seem to follow this trend. In fact, he says it himself, he's just a Common Variety Nopon. But is that really true? Well, let's look more into it and see the true importance of his actions on the events of Xenoblade 3. Funnily enough, I actually made a semi-correct prediction about Riku in a previous video. In What Was Riku Cooking, I came to the conclusion that he was a descendant of Riki, which is true. He's his son. Unfortunately though, I didn't take into account that Riku could live for so long, as I said that the Lucky 7 was passed down through generations, but to our knowledge, Riku is the only one who has had possession of the sword outside of Melia, his master pawn. Unfortunately, Xenoblade 3 doesn't really give us a lot of firm timeline indicators, but what we do know is that by Future Redeemed, it has been at least 70 years since the original city's founding, which means Melia was captured before that point. It has also been at least 200 years since Future Redeemed by the time Noah's group comes into the picture, as it took several centuries for Matthew's descendants to return to the city. However, we also have one more indicator. In the side story of Noah in the main game, there is a cutscene that shows text that says 1,000 years ago. And since Riku knew Melia before she got captured, and M is a Mobius due to M destroying the city, Riku has lived throughout this entire time. So that means Riku has at least lived 1,000 years by the time the events of Xenoblade 3 happen. Now, we don't know average Nopon lifespans, but it does seem incredibly unlikely that just a normal Nopon would live this long. Even more strangely, Riku does not age physically at all between Future Redeemed and Xenoblade 3. No gray hairs or anything, and he doesn't even grow a wise beard, which is definitely strange, as we do see old Nopon in the games. This could just be due to some time paradox thing, because oddly Rex and Shulk don't look like they aged that much, even though they hypothetically should have been living in Ionios for over 70 years, but who knows. Regardless, Riku has seen a lot, and holds the most important weapon, the Lucky 7. Melia had told him that it was to be given to someone ready to run into the fray, which Riku thought Noah was the perfect description of. This single-handedly decided the fate of the universe right then and there. Luckily, Riku made the correct call and was the witness of Ionios being taken back from Mobius. But that's all we know about Riku. He obviously holds more secrets, but chooses not to tell them. However, from what we know, I think it is pretty clear that Riku is not a Common Variety Nopon. But what effects did he have on the events of Xenoblade 3? Luckily, the ramifications of Riku's actions are pretty easy to see in Xenoblade 3. Firstly, Riku is one of the original 7 founders of the second city. Alongside Nicole, he was a primary researcher into Ouroboros stones. The whole reason that Noah's group is able to defeat Mobius comes down to Riku dedicating part of his life to pulling out the stone's power. However, Riku, notably unlike the other founders, seemingly keeps a low profile, as the person who wrote the description for Riku's statue knows that it may be intentional that there is so little information about him. And after thinking about it for a while, it does kind of make sense. Riku does hold the most powerful weapon in existence. He likely knew that there was no guarantee for when the true wielder of the Lucky 7 would show up. It could be over 1,000 years. So he needed to keep a low profile, and having a statue dedicated to you with decently clear records of your doings is not going to help. If Riku died, then Ionios was screwed, because only he knew the requirements for the wielder of the Lucky 7. After I beat Future Redeemed, I had a thought about the main game. Wasn't it kind of odd how the city immediately backed Noah's group? They scouted them out for a little bit, but they never thought of them as a threat. The scouting was more to see if they were the real deal than anything, and Guernica seemingly recognized Noah's sword too, so obviously the city knew something that we didn't. This leads me to believe before Riku left the city to find the Lucky 7 wielder, that he gave some information. Something along the lines of, if you see someone who has the Lucky 7, we found our guy and we gotta fully back them. This got passed down through generations and might have been the reason the city only attempted to help Noah's group. Still though, this play of surrounding the group while giving them no information is still incredibly stupid and could have ended terribly for everyone involved. And although these are the only 2 events that Riku affected, these 2 events are major events in the game. Noah's group doesn't survive past hour 2 of the game if the Ouroboros Stone doesn't release its power to Noah's group. Noah's group isn't able to achieve what they achieve if they don't have the support of the city. They wouldn't have gotten the Cloud Keep Key, and the city reveals a different side of life that convicts Noah's group to fight for them, giving Noah's group a firm goal to achieve. Of course, there's the action of Riku giving Noah the Lucky 7, which sets all of this in motion years before this too. So this game would not have happened, nor would Noah's group find success in their mission without Riku putting in work centuries before Noah's group came to be. However, now that we know that Riku is literally the reason that this game happens in the first place, you look back on the cutscenes of the main game and notice a curious fact. There was a reason Riku never asked any questions about the cycle of life or anything like that. It's because he already knew it, but he decided to take a backseat and let Noah's group find out by themselves. Riku never really did anything to sway Noah's group to go to one place or another. He was just there vibing. He knew fate would take its natural course, but I gotta commend him for letting it all happen knowing what he knew. I also gotta give him props for having the best memory of all time. He still remembers quotes from Melia 1,000 years afterwards. That is some dedication, and he still remembered the requirements needed for the Lucky 7 wielder too. Thank goodness Melia didn't choose one of the forgetful Nopon. But I kinda get why Riku calls himself a Common Variety Nopon in a way. He didn't do anything that special, he doesn't have superpowers, he just researched the uses of the Ouroboros Stone and gave the Lucky 7 to its rightful owner. To him, I can see why he didn't think he did anything too special. He never did anything that changed the world, he just set people up to change the world. Now, do I think he meant this when he said that he was normal to Noah? Absolutely not, but it's just a thought that I had. If there is one thing that we can say about Riku though, he is probably the most important character in the game story-wise outside of Noah and Mio, which sounds insane to say, but so many things in this game would not have happened without him. So I guess, in a way, the reason why Mobius lost is because they got outsmarted by a potentially immortal Nopon. Good job, Mobius. Good job. Well, Riku wasn't a Common Variety Nopon after all. But hey, thank you so much for watching my video. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing. Less than 5% of my viewers are subbed, and it's free and it helps support the channel a lot. Also, consider leaving a comment about Riku's exploit yourself. There's probably some things I missed, and I love reading your comments because I read every one of them, even the 2,000-word essay ones. But with that, I hope you all have a wonderful day, evening, night, wherever you are, and this is Crystalized, signing out.